This is Maarte. Not quite a podcast, more like voice memos you weren't supposed to hear. There's one thing that I can think of that a lot of people will agree on, and it's that people love Filipinos. They really do. Everywhere you go, people say the same things. Oh, Filipinos are so friendly, they're so funny, warm, always smiling. They can make a joke out of everything, and you know what? We can. I mean, I'm living proof of that. We definitely can make a joke out of anything. Filipinos are funny as hell. A typhoon could rip somebody's roof off, and within 15 minutes, somebody's auntie's already on Facebook posting about a free skylight and how God is good. Like, I mean, come on. And we make jokes. We make jokes at funerals, or we'll sing karaoke through heartbreak. We make memes during corruption scandals. Filipinos will feed you while their own electricity bill is in God's hands. And, people see that as warmth and they fall in love with it. I have this theory. Just stick with me here, okay? Because it might be really far-fetched. But I have this theory that a lot of the things most people love about Filipinos came from survival. Because I don't think entire cultures became emotionally adaptive like this by accident. I think history leaves fingerprints on people. And not just individually, I mean culturally. Before colonization, the Philippines already had thriving societies. We had trade routes, languages, communities, kingdoms, spiritual traditions. We were not some empty, uncivilized place waiting to be discovered. That narrative itself was part of colonization. And then came over 300 years of Spanish rule, 300 years, long enough for occupation to stop feeling temporary, long enough for generations to be born into it and die inside of it. Colonization didn't just change religion, it changed identity. All of a sudden, Westernness became aspirational, lighter skin became associated with status, foreign became better. And I think pieces of that still exist now in beauty standards, in skin whitening products, in class systems, in the way English fluency sometimes gets confused for intelligence. And that one right there, that's a conundrum, because remember in my last episode, I mentioned that auntie that was scolding me for not speaking Tagalog. And it's like, at that point, you're like, I don't know what you want from me. In the way, or even in the way people apologize for having an accent, even though speaking multiple languages is objectively impressive as hell. Like, when I think about it, both of my parents knew 3 different languages. That's fucking impressive. Then came America, and then came war, then came Japanese occupation, then came independence that somehow still didn't always feel like belonging to ourselves, because history doesn't disappear just because textbooks move on. People carry it. Families carry it. The whole country carries it through silence, through fear, through parenting, through nervous systems, and through survival behaviors. And then survival becomes culture. And that part really feels personal to me, because my dad left home at the age of 13 years old to work the sugar fields and the rice fields so my grandparents could have a fighting chance at supporting his 7 other siblings. 13 years old. When I think about that as an adult, it kind of breaks my brain, because 13 is supposed to be childhood, and for a lot of Filipino families, childhood got interrupted by survival. Dad wasn't unique to that. That story exists everywhere in Filipino families in different forms. Children growing up too fast, people sacrificing themselves quietly because the family needed them to. Love being shown through labor instead of emotional language, because there is so much love in Filipino families. There's so much generosity, there's so much warmth, but there's also often silence. There's avoidance, emotional suppression, the whole don't make things worse, just keep going, pray about it, be grateful. And gratitude is beautiful, but sometimes gratitude becomes survival language too. Sometimes people become so focused on surviving that they never really learn how to process what happened to them. You learn how to read rooms quickly. You learn how to soften tension. You learn how to endure discomfort quietly. You stay pleasant while you're hurting. And people praise that. They call it resilience. And Filipinos are resilient. But lately, I'm realizing and wondering, what does resilience actually cost a person? Because for my personal experience, I know exactly what it costs. Because resilience, it sounds beautiful until you realize it usually means someone never had the luxury of collapsing. And that one really, really hits me personally, because the older I get, the more I realize I may actually be the poster child for unresolved generational stress. And I know I'm laughing about it, but God, just think about that. I'm like, man, I am the poster child for generational stress. All this to say, your girl is tired, like chronically tired. And yes, I mean emotionally, but I also mean physically. Because here I am. I'm mentally ill. I'm chronically fatigued. I'm emotionally hypervigilant. My anxiety is like, it's unmatched. I have a nervous system that treats minor inconveniences like incoming artillery fire. At what point do we stop calling this resilience and start asking what the bill was? Because Filipino families love saying, "Oh, anak, you're so strong." And sometimes I wonder how many Filipino children learn that being loved and being needed were the same thing. Because if you're useful, if you're dependable, if you sacrifice enough, the family survives. And survival has always been the family business. Meanwhile, my fucking cortisol levels are like fighting for their lives. and I genuinely think I may be the physical manifestation of generational survival. A tiny emotional support chihuahua carrying 400 years of colonization in my nervous system. Queen of saying I'm fine while actually deteriorating. And obviously I'm joking mostly, but I do think there's some realness there, because when generations survive instead of processing, eventually somebody in the family line feels it in their body. And I don't mean that in a fake internet wellness influencer way where every illness is secretly trauma. Life is more complicated than that, but stress affects bodies, hypervigilance affects bodies, suppression, caretaking, all of that, it affects bodies. And I think a lot of Filipinos become experts at functioning while exhausted. You could be emotionally, physically exhausted, historically exhausted. Not unheard of. And honestly, I think some of us inherited that exhaustion. I think Filipinos became so good at survival. They became so good at surviving that survival started looking like personality. Humor, hospitality, self sacrifice, caretaking, endurance, conflict avoidance, smiling while suffering. And once survival starts looking like personality, how do you know what belongs to you and what belongs to history? Because these things are not weaknesses, there is beauty in them, real beauty. You know, Filipino people are some of the most loving, generous, emotionally intelligent people on earth. But I also think warmth has history behind it. Our history has humor behind it. Our resilience has history behind it. And maybe healing for Filipinos now isn't continuing to survive beautifully for everyone else. Maybe healing is finally asking, what would happen if we rested? If we processed? If we grieved? If we stopped turning every painful thing into a joke before we even fully felt it? If we stopped being impressive about our suffering, because resilience is incredible. But I don't think human beings were put on this earth to endure. And maybe that's the work now, not becoming stronger, not becoming tougher, not becoming better at carrying impossible things, just asking a question our families may never have had the luxury to ask, which is, what did survival cost us? Did it cost us joy, rest, childhood, dependency, the ability to ask for help, the ability to fail safely, the ability to belong to ourselves? And who are we when we are finally safe enough to stop surviving?